Thanks for joining us on another episode of The Real Franchise, a video series designed to deliver real information, real answers, and real insights into franchising. The series is brought to you by James Home Services Australia. I'm the CEO, and Justin is one of our owners and our head of new businesses. Together in this series, as you know, we tackle all of the big topics, completely unscripted, unplanned, totally unfiltered, no sales, no fluff, just information straight up. Today's topic is, should you do it scared? There are lots of people that we talk to on a daily basis who are inquiring about joining our network. And Justin, one of the things that we notice is that the further through our process they get, the more those little fears start rising up and sitting in their chest. And sometimes it can hold the most incredible potential business owners back from making the decision to jump. So today we want to talk about just that. Should you do it scared? Justin, let's start with the basics first. What are the reasons that people feel scared, and what's kind of the situation that most people are coming to us from that fuels that fear around, oh my goodness, I'm about to start a business. I feel worried about this.
Yep. Most people's fear, I think, is most people that join us are coming from an employee, from a job. They've got a job, they're employed, they've got a regular income, they've got a mortgage, they've got family, they've got kids, they've got financial responsibilities. And I know we talk about it like walking off a cliff. It almost feels like I'm taking this massive plunge. And I think for people that really understand that fear is valid, that, you know, to not think it's a weird thing. Everyone I speak to in one form or another has that fear. I mean, I've been a franchisee for 15 years in this network, and I can still remember, this is showing how old I am, I can still remember when I paid for my first franchise, I had to mail a check. And I can remember driving away from the Yungaburra post office. I can still remember sitting in the car thinking, what the hell have I done? You know, just this fear of taking the plunge. And so, yeah, it's valid, but that's the most common fear, I think. There's lots of other smaller ones we seem to have, but that seems to be the main one. What happens if I don't earn the income? You know, I've heard the horror stories. I've seen people lose lots. So it's a valid fear. And I'm not sure if I'm jumping the gun here, but fear is a good thing. It's a natural thing. It stops us getting hurt doing things that are dangerous, right? The way to handle fear, though, is to get information.
Yeah.
You know, if you told me you were going to take me to 40,000 feet, you know, and drop me, you know, either way, actually, even knowing the pro, I'm still going to have fear inside. But if I understood I'm going to have a parachute and I'm going to be with an expert and I just got to hang on, you don't have to do anything, they're going to pull the chute and everything, I'll still be scared of jumping from 40,000 feet, but that information changes everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Something
Sorry, does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does. Well, just to go back for a second, basically the answer to the question, you know, what do people fear the most? It's going from a salary to I am responsible for the income that my business is earning. That is the core fear. And if you're watching this video and you're going, oh my goodness, yes, that's why this is sitting in my stomach and it's churning and I'm not quite sure whether I'm ready to make the inquiry or not. If that's you, it's so normal. Everyone feels this because for those who have been an employee all their lives, and I'm in that boat, you know, I have been an employee all my life in my role as James. I am an employee. And so I think about how would I feel if I were to go from the safety net of a known wage to, hey, I'm responsible for the income that I'm generating. So the fear is very real and it is very much around income. You've touched on it already. It's very normal. I don't think we've had any business owner in the last 5 years start with us who hasn't felt some kind of nervousness around that income space. What I was going to touch on before is I find the psychology behind fear really interesting. Fear is future-based. Fear is focused on something that might happen in the future. So it's not evidence. There's no evidence to suggest it's going to happen. It's a thought process of this might happen. So you can get in control and on the front foot of fear by doing exactly what you've suggested, which is gathering more information to answer your questions and getting in control of the decision that you're making through that information gathering, but also through making sure that you're asking really deep questions of yourself. You've got to address why the fear's sitting there. And some of the bigger questions that I think people should be asking themselves if they're feeling nervous about jumping and starting a business. A lot of people ask us, what safety net do you provide? And they're making sure they understand what our system is. They're making sure they understand what our parachute, to use your analogy, what our parachute looks like. We're going to do a whole separate video on the design of our parachute for our business owners. But this video is a little bit more you focused. If you're a business owner or potential business owner listening, this is you focused, right? The best thing that you can do if you're feeling that fear is ask yourself some pretty big questions. So, Justin, one of those questions is, do you want this enough? What do we mean when we talk about, do you want this enough?
Yep. So to answer your question, Rhiannon, we're going to talk in our next podcast about the safety net that we have for people. And we have seen like every single business we started last year has got off last financial year to a good start. That's because of good systems, good processes. It's why people join a good business like ours. The key ingredient, though, is people's desire. I don't know about you. Like, I'm middle-aged now. I have so many friends talk about, I need to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to get a personal trainer, right? Like all the time. And that's all great. It's easy to say, but you really got to want it. If you want it, you're going to make the thing happen. And it's exactly the same in a business. We've created these systems and tools that work every time they've worked, right? And I can stand behind that. The only time people struggle is when they don't follow the system. It sounds cliche, but it's just like, oh, you haven't lost weight, you haven't done anything different, like it's the same thing. You got to really want this. And that's what it boils down to, I think. The fear we can lean on to hold us back from doing something that might be good for us, getting us out of our comfort zone. I got up at 4:30 this morning, went for a run. It wasn't comfortable, but I felt so much better when I finished. And it's the same when it comes to a business. It won't be comfortable to make that decision. You've got to make sure it's a wise decision and do everything possible to minimize the risks. And we work through that in the process. And we'll tell you, no, I'm jumping ahead to our next podcast, but it's so important to make sure that you really want this.
Yeah. And when we say, do you want this enough? What we mean is, do you want the outcome? No one wants to work really, 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 really hard. No one wants to be made feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to have to put the amount of effort into growing a business that it actually really genuinely takes to grow a successful business. No one wants to do that. If we had a choice to sit on a beach with a cocktail versus putting the work in and growing a business, everyone would choose sit on a beach and have a cocktail. So the question is not, do you want the work? The question is, do you want the outcome?
Yes.
Do you want what the work could achieve for you? Do you want the future that is, it's almost the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Do you want what you think you can achieve using the vehicle of your business? So, for example, lots of people come to us because the 9-to-5 grind just does not give them the flexibility that they need to spend time with their growing family, or to manage the school drop-offs or the daycare pickups or the school sports or the parent-teacher interviews, or the after-school activities, right? The 9 to 5 typical daily grind, there's no flexibility in that to make your family life work and balanced. So most people come to us because they're looking for more flexibility. If that outcome of flexibility for your family is important enough to you, then you will be prepared to do the work to make it happen, because the outcome is worth getting there. So when we say, do you want this enough? Don't look at the work that it takes, not at this stage. That's the next part of this. But the first part is, do you want the outcome? Do you want what this could get for you? The second question to ask yourself is around the work. Are you prepared, right? Once you've looked at the outcome, you've really kind of put your finger on what could I achieve. And P.S., if you're not sure what the outcome is, but you're just feeling like, hey, I might need a change, that's okay too, because we've talked about in a previous podcast episode, the very purpose of our information process is actually to help you understand what it is that you could get out of this, or to help you really identify what it is that you want out of this. So we can help you with that. If your gut is just telling you, hey, I feel like I need a change, but you're not quite sure exactly what that looks like, that's okay. Part of our role is to help you to sort of plan that out and have a look at it. The second question is, are you prepared to do the work? What do we mean by that, Justin? When we say, are you prepared to do the work, what do we mean?
For me, it means, like our business, and people can talk to so many of our business owners, it does give work-life balance. It does give you freedom. It does do that. However, that's one of the outcomes that you were talking about. To get there, you've got to put in the hard yards in the beginning. So reality is, particularly first 12 weeks, you'll probably work harder than you've ever worked in your life. You'll probably put more time. Well, not probably. You need to work harder than you've ever worked in. You need to put in more time probably than you've ever put in a job, because it's your business and it's about getting the business going. Yes, you've got all the things we do happening, but you're the boots on the ground. You're the one that really gets things. If you do that, that will generate an outcome. And then if you want to scale back, get that, that's all. You can then work with the outcomes, but you've got to put in the work, follow the system. We often say it that way, to get that outcome. And then you can manage, and your business coach will work with you on that, on scaling if you want to, and putting on staff and getting that more control around the time and hours and stuff. But yeah, it is any good thing in your life. If you think of anything you've succeeded in, it took getting out of comfort zone. It took a bit of pain. It doesn't, very rarely do things just plop in your lap. And if they come that way, they go that way just as quick, So to grow a stable, sustainable thing that's going to bring the life changes that you want, yeah, you're going to have to put a bit of effort in the beginning.
Yeah. About 18 months ago, I achieved a personal goal. My partner and I achieved a personal goal that we had shared for the last 15 years together. And it felt amazing. And it was a pretty monumentous kind of personal goal. It was a once in a lifetime kind of personal goal. And I look back now and I think hard work was the currency that got us there. And I also think that, the personal goal was buying a farming property. And we had shared that goal for a very long time. And we have both come from a farming background. So that's why it was really important. Anybody who's ever looked at buying a farming property knows that they're expensive. It costs a lot of money. And the way that we got there was we built a property previously and then sold it. Now, when I say built, I don't mean hired contractors. I mean that after my 9 to 5, I held a nail gun and I built walls. I framed out this house. I did bricklaying. I did paving. I did plastering. I did painting. We installed kitchens. I tiled, everything, you name it. Now, I look back at the 5 years it took us to build that house as the stepping stone to get us to our goal, and the sacrifices and the pain that went into that period of my life were huge. But the outcome was worth the work. Very much the outcome was worth the work. And now I get to live the outcome every day. And that's exactly what a business can achieve for our business owners, right? You put the hard yards in, you do the work, you put your marketing hat on and you go out and you drop your flyers, even when it's cold outside. You know, you go and you introduce yourself to the real estate agents. You make sure that you're doing your marketing on your Google Business Profile and your Facebook page when you don't want to. You take the uncomfortable choice on the front foot every single time. Every time you've got an opportunity to sit on the couch and watch your favorite TV show or get out and grow your business, you choose to get out and grow your business. Business owners in our network who do that, who choose hard every single time, they're the ones who make it. They're the ones who have businesses that have exceeded their expectations. They're the ones who tell us that they're making more money now than they ever did before in a day job. But if you ask them how they got there, every single one of them will tell you it wasn't easy. Every single one of them will tell you it took hard work and a lot of sacrifice to build it. But they will also tell you that the outcome is worth it. They now can spend more time with their family. They now can put staff on and take a step back in their business. They now can finish work at 1:30 every single day. We have those stories in our network, but there's a common thread. They were prepared to do the work because the outcome was worth the pain or the sacrifice. So those are two big questions to ask yourself if you're feeling scared about this jump. And there's a third thing you should also consider, and it's this. Is your current situation motivation enough to want to do the work to get to the outcome? See how this is building?
Yep.
So current situation, Justin, what do we mean by current situation?
I've taken a lot of people through this process. To give an example of, I think what you're meaning here is people who go through really keen and there's been a dream of theirs to have their own business, and it gets to the point, but I'm in a really good job, I'm earning big money, I hate it, I'm away. But the pain of walking away from that is too much for them to make the change.
Yeah.
So
the situation isn't bad enough or isn't painful enough or isn't frustrating enough or infuriating enough or annoying enough or constricting enough to make you want to change.
Yep.
Fundamental law of life. People only change if they want to change. No one can make you change. No one can make me change. No one can make you change, Justin. You get up every morning at 4:30 and go for a run. That's your choice, right? That's not your wife encouraging you to stay healthy. That's not me encouraging you to keep your brain active through exercise. That is you making a personal choice. It's nobody else.
Yep.
Me spending 5 hours after my day job every single day for 5 years with my partner building a house, that was a personal choice. No one made me do that. No one could make me do that. It has to come from yourself. So when we talk about current situation and thinking about your own current situation, it has to be painful enough that you want to make a change. So you have to feel, as I said before, a lot of people come to us because they want more flexibility, right? But if their current situation isn't constricting enough, then the pain isn't going to feel worthwhile. So you don't want to do it. If you're earning great money where you currently are and, we say, well, look, here are some stats about what current business owners are doing in our network, do your own sums. But if your current situation is pretty comfortable financially, there may not be enough pain for you to want to make the change. That's not to say that you don't want your own business, but it is to say what we're giving you here is a framework to help you figure out if you should do it scared. Because what we're talking about is having that fear around, should I jump? Should I do this? I feel really nervous. Should I do it? Here's your framework. Yes, that fear is normal. Yes, it's valid. Yes, everybody feels it. Ask yourself, if the outcome, do you want it enough? Are you prepared to do the work to get to the outcome? And is your current situation enough motivation for you to do the work?
Yep. Very true.
So there you go. There's a tool. And I think that most people watching this video maybe didn't think that we would go there because, it's very easy to talk to you about just what our safety net is. And we're going to do that. The next episode of our podcast is going to be, the parachute we've built for you. But before we talked about that, we wanted actually to we wanted to put you in control of how you're feeling and the decision that you're making. You should do it scared. If it stacks up, you've done your research and it all stacks up and it all checks out, but you should only do it scared if you're prepared to put the work in, if the outcome is worth it, and if your current situation is enough motivation to keep you moving forward.
Yep. Excellent. So true.
Well, let's wrap this episode right there. And I hope that you will join us for the next one, which, as promised, is going to be about the parachute that we have built you so that you can feel just that little bit less scared about jumping. Hopefully, you'll join us for the next episode of The Real Franchise.